Hello students, here we are on page 34 of Module 4's book, Day 7, Taxes, Commissions, Fees, and Other Real-World Percent Problems. We'll start off with the lesson objective. I can solve problems involving tax, commission, gratuities, etc. So a gratuity is just a tip, like what you pay a waiter or a waitress. All right, in the opening example, I'm not really going to do a lot of math, but I want to show you how when we're setting up a proportion, and these are 4 different scenarios of real-world percent issues, and how it's really the same thing every time. So here we got what is his commission. So Silva earns 10% for each car he makes while working at a used car dealership. He sells a used car for $2,000. What is his commission? Well, his commission is going to be 10% of the $2,000 car that he buys. Right? So this proportion, of course, I know you can solve the proportion from there. Right? In B scenario, how much did they pay in room taxes if the room was $200 per night? Okay. So, two's family stayed at a hotel for 10 nights on their vacation. Hotel charged 10% tax. So, once again, it's a similar scenario where you're taking 10% of the amount a night. Now, this one we do a little bit of math here. You're staying for 10 nights at $200 per night. It's $2,000. So it's the same as up above. You're taking 10% of $2,000. In C, shipping costs. Eric bought a new computer and a printer online. He had to pay 10% in shipping fees. The items total $2,000. So once again, it's the same thing. You're finding 10% of that $2,000. Right? And then the last one. Okay. How much did they leave her father as an extra tip? Okay. Selena and her wedding rehearsal dinner at a restaurant. The restaurant's policy is that a gratuity, or a tip, is included in the bill for large parties. Her father said the food service is exceptional, so 10% tip on the total bill, which was $2,000. So once again, we're finding 10% of that $2,000. Okay? So there are 4 different scenarios. You got a commission example, you've got a tax example, you've got just shipping fees, and you've got a tip. All 4 of them showing the same proportion. All right, so that's all I really wanted in this first part of the lesson. So now what we're going to do, now we're on page 35. And how this is going to work is I'm going to do example 1 on page 35. Then I'm going to go to 36 and 37 and do the example for each one. Right? And for each example, there's practice problems that go along with them. And the example is really tailored more for the challenge problem at the end. So this example, when you do the challenge problem at the bottom, this is going to be like it. Right. What was the cost of the item before the tax? Okay, now this one's interesting because Mason paid $111.12 for a pair of shoes. This includes a tax of 4%. So this is the amount after the tax has already been added. So let's look at a tape diagram for this. So you have the original cost of the item, the shoes, and then a 4% tax is added. So this amount here, the 104%, is the 112. Right? And this is about the only way that I can think of without doing some high-level algebra equation to solve this problem. Right? So this 1112 is after the 4% had been added. So I use 104% so I could work my way backwards. So, and I get $10.69. So that was the cost before the tax. And then you can always check this by taking 4% of $10.69 and adding it. Now remember, this example, okay, and the exercises, the first 3 are just finding the tax and the total cost. This one's really more for the challenge problem at the end. So that's a tax problem. A more challenging commission problem. We did this in Fast and Furious in the previous lesson. how much will the salesman make this month if he sells 25,000 cars, or $25,000? Right? A salesperson makes $1,500 per month plus a 10% commission for all sales in that month. Okay, we like to refer to this as a base plus commission scenario, meaning that the $1,500, you're making that no matter what, and then you're getting a commission on top of it. So you're getting $1,500 plus 10% of the sales, which in that month was 25,000. The favorite mistake the students like to make is they see 1,500, they see 10%, they don't even see this 25,000, and they do 10% of 1,500, which is not what you're doing. It's of the sales, so you have to sell that much. So let's find 10% of 25,000. So 10%, 25,000, which would be $2,500. Okay, so then the 1,500 plus 2,500 equals 4,000. Right. And just like the last one, this example is really tailored more for the bottom two. Like so, this example really is to help you with 7 and to really help you with 8. And 8 is probably one of the more challenging commission problems we can take a look at. So, and you're going to be going back and doing all these problems in class. All right, example 3, a gratuity. Okay. How much will the total bill be plus the tax and the tip? All right. So Mrs. Noah's bill is $50 before the tax. The tax rate's 5%. So let's start there. Mrs. Noah wants to leave a tip of 10% for the gatekeeper based on the, and this is why you got to read carefully, pre-tax amount. Okay, so this is a little bit interesting because that 10%, so let's figure out the tip to start with, pre-tax amount. So we're going to do 10% of the $50, which is just going to be $5. So the tip is $5. Now, what's different about this problem is that this is going to get added to the 50 eventually, but the tax rate, and this is where this is going to be a little bit tougher, is the tax rate is not on the tipped amount. So if you were to add the 5 to the 55 and add the 5 to the 50 and get 55, that 5% tax isn't on the tip. It's just on the original amount. So we use the original amount again. This is the only scenario where this happens, where you're leaving a tip based on pre-tax amount or before taxes are implied. So we take 5% of 50, which is $2.50. So now the total bill is going to be the $50 charge for the bill. It's going to be the $5 tip and the $2.50 tax, giving us $57.50. Okay. So then this example really is tailored for examples down towards the bottom. All right. Okay. And number 11 as well. In number 11 here, you're reading, there's that word again, pre-tax amount. But then you look at the challenge problem down here in 12, then this one says after the sales tax is added, which means that you're going to add the sales tax in, then do the 18% on that. So, all right, so this is a little bit of a longer video, but we'll work on the problems in between, and then if you finish those, you work on the additional practice problems starting on page 38. So for recorded lessons, this is Mr. Sims signing off.